our thanks go to fire, to LA County Fire, all the fire departments that are around that provided support, LA County Sheriff. I mean, these folks knew what it was that they were doing. And then I appreciate the fact that we had so many other groups. I was here from the command post from literally the get-go. We were watching them load helicopters with water at City Hall. I learned from there where it was, had a chance to get to the right spot. In the process of doing that, we saw so many different agencies coordinated. And I mentioned fire and police. The people from emergency animal control, they were there too. American Red Cross showed up, apparently, as they always do. They set up facilities here for folks to do it. We're talking to you right now at St. John Fisher Church. The neat part about that, they moved the command post. They were all crammed in at Del Cerro Park. Good spot to start, but they really needed much more room. Very nice people here at St. John Fisher opened up their facility. So things you don't think about. Had restrooms, had places for trucks to spread out. They gave the sheriffs and fire their space. The folks here were very cooperative. They even treat mayor pro tems relatively well. So that was a nice thing. But what happened was it was seeing this team pull together. Out of all the things, that was the single biggest issue. Later on, as we were all watching the stuff on TV, because that was our visual feed, it became apparent to us that there was a lot of misinformation coming out. This isn't a criticism, it's the nature of what happens in a disaster very early on. And so we had a lot of misperceptions as to where the fire was, what homes were endangered, how many homes had been lost. People were telling us about all those things, what cities were involved. We even had to correct the public television, about that kind of thing. And really what we found was that by being here, having me here, feeding that information back to City Hall, much to her credit, our city manager was there the whole time also. From a little after 8 o'clock, I signed off here about 2:45, 3 o'clock in the morning. I think she had just wrapped up at City Hall. She was back on station this morning by 8, something like that. So a lot of kudos go to her for that. But the team and the process worked that way.
How close this fire came to this house?
Well, I mean, you just look at it and you're always amazed, at the potential of a catastrophic situation. And if you really look at this, I mean, they help to a certain degree with their plants, but there's obviously some other things they could do. But to stop at the other end of the house, you look up there and it all was handwork. A hose, a shovel, and a pick, and stop this from taking this entire home down. And it's just amazing. Even though they lost this outbuilding here, I'm not sure whether it's a garage or what it is, obviously, and some roof damage, this home's still standing. You look across the way, the same thing. Look at right there, and you see a little roof damage. So it's amazing. I am so proud to be a part of a county that has such incredible resources. And, we don't shortchange public safety. When it comes to firefighting, when it comes to emergency preparedness, when it comes to our sheriff's department, and that we train and we train and we train, and then for situations just like this, the cooperation between our county firefighters and having them do their job, the county sheriffs with the evacuation process, American Red Cross, everybody comes together, and it just doesn't happen. There's a lot of resources that go into this, and I think two things happened last night that this community is really lucky about, and that's one, you didn't have the cloud cover, so that the helicopters were able to do the water drops all night, and obviously that had an incredible impact on what has transpired up here. But there were a lot of things in focus last night that made it work, but at the end of the day, it was the hard work of the firefighters and our work crews. We've got a lot of folks out here that spend time in a very confined situation, but in a situation like this, have been trained to assist, and we've got an all-female crew here from the Malibu camp. So there's a lot of people that work very, very hard to save these homes up here.
After you were briefed by officials and you heard how the whole scenario played out, is there anything that you were concerned about? Did you feel like everything went as best it could?
I think, from an actual firefighting standpoint, it went as best as could. If there's a concern, obviously it's some of the issues as it relates to some potential landscaping issues in the community. I remember back in the Malibu fires in the 80s, seeing some very explosive, what they call crown fires, that could be very damaging with some of these trees up here. But I'll tell you what, you also look out here and see what the residents have done as far as brush clearing and things like that, and I think you realize just how important that is. That's not just talk, that's not somebody telling you what to do. That's a matter of life and death, and the safety of your own home.
Well, it really was a devastating fire, but really well handled by the fire department. Very impressed. Even this morning, as I got here, they were mopping up, but had crews dropping water and pinpoint drops. Really terrific work by the fire department. Just very grateful.
And of course, we're looking at some of your neighbors' homes where you can see where the fire, how far it went up. And of course, they did the right thing in terms of planting the right vegetation. What are you doing here as a homeowner to really protect your property?
I think the brush clearance and the work by the local fire department, making sure everyone's educated, has really made a big difference. I look at the way this fire was handled. It was really a tribute both to the resources that were made available, but also the homeowners have done a really good job of clearing. We all do concentrate on it.
You had a family staying here when the fire broke out. What did they tell you? And I'm sure it was very scary.
It was. You know, they did the right thing. They looked after the animals and themselves. They got themselves packed up, and when they were told to evacuate, they got out. So we're very lucky, I think, that no one was hurt in the fire and no property damage, really.
Well, I'm grateful for LA County Fire and the incredible expertise that they've demonstrated by being in the right place at the right time and stopping what could have been a much worse fire and disaster.
I know we've seen a lot of properties where it's just a miracle of where you see the fire, how close it was, and what could have happened.
Well, you know, it isn't a miracle. It's the expertise of professional firefighters. So there are lessons to be learned. And the other part of that was the education that the residents obviously took to heart about clearing the brush. If that hadn't happened, it would have been a different story.
Of course, it's still hot out here. We're in peak fire season. Anything you want your constituents and the community to be thinking about right now?
I want everybody to go on the LA County website. I want them to go to the LA County Fire and read all of those instructions that have to do with prevention and do everything you can because, as you say, the season is still on. You know, I get the word from all over the state, and it's pretty frightening. There are fires everywhere breaking out. So we have to be cautious. We have to practice prevention, and that's the best way to avoid harm.
From what you're hearing from the officials, are you comfortable with the resources that were available? I mean, do you think they had enough resources to attack this?
Completely, yes. I know that one of my cities, of course, is the city of Long Beach. They had 5 engines come up to help. Mutual aid was very involved. Everything worked smoothly. The resources were there. The helicopters were there. They picked up the water. One helicopter apparently was able to hold, 1,000 gallons and just dump it where it was necessary. So, you know, it was by the book, and they did a great job.
That will do it for this edition of Community Connection on Location. A big thank you again to all of the fire crews and the personnel that work so hard to keep our community safe. I'm Liz Brown Swanson. See you next time. Thanks for watching.